second one. For the sheer effort, you can see it.
Because you can see what's happening, yeah. Which is funny, because that's set in like a dark kind of setting. Whereas
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll come back to that. All right. Welcome, everyone, to Haven of Horror. I am Subject. I have Torgo with us. I will have to update the description. Doolittle could not make it unless he jumps in later. But tonight we're just talking about a new movie. We're not doing Shutter Shuffle tonight because brand new movie just hit Vudu. Torgo, had you had a chance to watch it again?
I've still only actually had a chance to see it one time, so I'm gonna have to watch it again later this year.
Okay. So I was gonna say I could have lent you my Vudu account, but it's all good.
That's all good. I remember it enough.
What are we talking about?
We're talking Talk to Me, the new film from two YouTubers who I had never heard of before this movie was getting a lot of buzz.
I did not know they were YouTubers. All right, so Torgo, let me talk to you.
Okay.
This movie, I went in kind of with higher expectations because everyone in our mutual server had been kind of hyping it up. But I read the plot synopsis and I was like, oh god, another ghost movie. So I don't know if you have this. I am sick to death of ghost movies. Just sick of them.
I can see that. I mean, I don't watch as much as you do. Like I really I don't mind ghost movies at all, but I can see why you'd be tired of them, especially with stuff like The Conjuring and all that.
Yeah. And I still wish that we could move on and like do something new. But this surprised me. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I think I liked it better on a second viewing. I did manage to watch it twice.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to kind of concrete, finalize my thoughts on this movie overall. So how do you feel about Talk to Me? And would you talk to me?
I will talk to you about Talk to Me. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Talk to Me is this new horror film from A24. As I said before, directed by two YouTubers who had this channel. I think it's pronounced Raka Raka or something like that. They made a lot of short films and stuff, so they have a lot of experience. So for a first film, you know, it's pretty impressive as a debut feature for like how good it is. But the general premise is that these kids find this hand that when you grab it and you say the word "talk to me," you can interact with these spirits, and you can and let it possess you for a certain amount of time before it takes over your body. And
90 seconds to be exact.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly what the rules were, but yeah. So they discover this hand. It's kind of being used as a trick at parties. The main character Mia eventually becomes kind of obsessed with it, and you kind of learn about her backstory of how her mother died, and she's trying to get back in contact with her mother. Also, there's one of her friend's younger brother kind of gets messed up by one of the spirits that possessed him, and that scene was super disturbing. I remember when I first saw that was actually pretty hard to watch when it's like trying to kill him. Yeah, and no, but overall, it's a really engaging and pretty original horror film. It's probably the best horror film I've seen all year. Admittedly, I do need to see a little bit more, but I'm guessing it's going to be pretty high in my ranking by the end of the year. I don't know about you though.
So, just to give context to a couple of your plot descriptions, but fantastic synopsis there. Um, the the scene in question isn't just she's affected by it; it's her mom or somebody pretending to be her mom possesses the boy.
Yeah.
Full on spoilers as well before we go any further. We don't normally bother saying that, but this is a brand new movie. It just came out. It just hit digital. So if you haven't seen it yet, watch that, then watch this review. Um, but then she convinces her friends to let the demon stand for, I believe it's 2 full minutes. Which is what
Yeah.
leads to him trying to kill himself when he's fully possessed.
Hmm.
So, I guess we'll start at the beginning, like we often do. Do you remember the opening of this movie?
Yeah, the opening, it's this long kind of one take thing where you're seeing I guess how the hand has affected this other kid, and it's this pretty like shocking, disturbing scene, and it's a great thing to start off on to like set the tone
Ooh,
of the movie.
this is where we're going to disagree. Is I don't know
Oh,
if it needs
really?
to. I don't know if it needs to be there.
Okay. Well,
I think you could have just started with our protagonist, or maybe like started with the mother, like showing what happened to her, versus just telling us what happened. Um, and introduce us to the hand and that there's anything horror going on through the eyes of the protagonist.
that's fair. I like it as a short little uh, one and done scene to kind of just set the tone of the movie and kind of set up what's to come later.
Though to be
So
fair
I
to it, the first time I watched it, I also missed how it was connected to the movie at all. And there's a line later on where it's like,
well,
that's the
yeah,
guy that they are supposed to get the hand from.
they meet
So,
up with another character later, and they kind of explain that.
so I think that's the other problem is it's the connections to the overall narrative of the film are so thin there that it feels like that Evil Dead 2013 opening thing where it's like we gotta remind people they're here for a
Oh,
horror film.
yeah, that's fair.
You
I
remember
will say,
Deadites?
I will say though, it's not as bad as the Evil Dead Rise opening scene, which we've already talked about in the review for that movie.
No, it's better than that. Even though Rise has one of the best like opening title sequences like ever, but no, it's definitely better than that. So how did you feel about our protagonist? I find her interesting in the flaws,
Hmm.
but I never feel bad for her because she kind of deserves everything she gets.
I feel a little bit bad for her. I get, that criticism, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that she deserves it. Um,
You
the
get
thing
what
with
you fucking deserve.
the thing with this movie that I can imagine a lot of people throwing the criticism I can imagine people throwing at it is that the characters are really dumb and they make stupid decisions. I don't mean to like hand wave it, but the thing is they're teenagers. And one of the interesting things I think this movie is kind of about is the fact that like teenagers will do stupid things for like points or for like attention on social media, and you see like the characters are recording themselves or like other people getting possessed by the hand or the spirit in this movie. Um, so yeah, I just think the way that it incorporates the like social media aspect into the story is pretty well done. And like yeah, I think it's fine that the characters are doing stupid things cuz you see, the past few years the like stupid challenges that have been on the internet, like, remember the bird box challenge where people were driving blindfolded and stuff like that. So it's not unheard of, especially nowadays, people doing stupid things for social media.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think the social media aspect works, and I don't even mind stupid characters. Like, this is a horror film. I don't expect the brightest protagonists. I
Yeah.
actually have kind of the reverse where I'm like, at this point, when somebody's like, "Oh, but they're so dumb," I wouldn't do this. I just kind of roll my eyes. Um,
It's one of those things you have to kind of accept comes with the genre.
yeah. I think the difference is with this movie is you're supposed to feel bad for this character because she's going through all this. And I'm not without empathy. There are obviously subplots with this, especially with the mom. I can understand, especially with when it comes to like an emotional reaction, your brain isn't working first and foremost. Um, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand thinking that she's kind of unsympathetic, or like, that she's kind of doing stupid things in this movie, but I kind of think that's part of the point of the movie.
Yeah. It never bothered me to the point where I was like, this is distracting and like I don't like this.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think it would be
maybe
worse if she was an adult character. I think the fact that the main characters in this movie are dumb, impressionable teenagers, I kind of think that fits what the story is.
yeah, for sure. And in terms of the stupid teenager cliche that we've seen 100 times, these are all fleshed out, I guess, well enough.
Yeah.
I don't think I know enough of the side characters, but I also don't know if I need to. It's not their story; it's our protagonist story.
Hmm.
And maybe I do need a third watch because I'm still not sure if the mom suicide was on purpose or on an accident.
I don't know. I'd have to watch it again too. To me, it kind of seemed like it was on purpose, but
Okay.
I need to like think about it more.
Yeah. I think I'd need to watch it again. And I would, just for the record, I would watch this again. I think this is a wonderful movie, and I agree with what you said earlier. This is easily the best horror film I've seen this year. Um, which I guess, to be fair, isn't the highest bar because I can now
Yeah.
name maybe 3 movies in the horror genre that I've liked this year.
It hasn't been a great year for horror from what I've seen. I only recently watched Megan in it, and that was a terrible movie.
God, that movie's so bad.
Or sorry,
Uh,
M3 again is the name of the
yeah.
movie.
Are you ready for M3 2.0?
Not really. Unless she gets to fight Chucky.
True.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, even with some of the horror films this year that I've liked, I'd say this tops it. Like, I enjoyed The Last Voyage of the Demeter, but I thought this was better.
Yeah. Let's see. So we have the protagonist, and she's introduced to this hand. So you have to say, "Talk to me," and it like summons a spirit, and then you say, "Let me in," and they possess you. Did you find, outside of the one that we've already talked, find any of the other possession scenes um creepy? There's something disconcerting to me about the early possession kind of sounding like a like they're drowning. As someone who
Yeah,
hates like water in their face, that disconcerts me greatly.
it was pretty disturbing, and I think you see one of the spirits for a second, and it looks like they've been drowned or like they've been underwater. But yeah, I did find pretty much all of those scenes disturbing. Just the way that they were shot and how the actors it kind of feels like they're being, suffocated by the spirits. And they're like it really feels like they're being taken over. So the actors really do a good job of selling that. Um, and I think for the most part, I was creeped out and disturbed by this movie. There are a couple things that I couldn't really take seriously. Like the first thing that comes to mind is the foot scene. In my theater, when I saw
That
that, they laughed at that.
so you mentioned earlier that these guys started out as YouTubers, and I think for most of this movie you can't tell that is a YouTube skit. When you told me
Yeah,
that all it all clicked into place.
you
That is
know
a
what?
YouTube short.
You know what? I didn't think about that earlier, but I think you're kind of right about that.
Yeah, that might be. So I have issues with the opening. I don't hate it. That might be my biggest issue with the movie is that's supposed to be a very tense scene, and you completely undercut it with a gag.
Yeah, yeah, and they bring it up later too, and then my theater also laughed at that.
Well, and the problem is they bring it up for drama, but it's built on something stupid. So the
Yeah,
drama that's building is stupid, in my
it's
opinion.
yeah, I don't know. It's I just can't take it seriously. I don't know if it's supposed to be taken seriously, but
Well, I think it
I
is because I don't know if you remember this, but the drama that it is that is brought upon because of it is the guy that she was like sucking on was
yeah,
somebody
they
else's boyfriend.
well, no, yeah, and she used to go out with that guy too, so it's kind of
And
like creating that drama.
I don't know if if you have this Torgo or if it's just because I've been watching Smallville, but I think this movie is above that kind of drama. But for some reason, just like that scene, it's not.
I don't think it's too focused on that drama enough for it to be a criticism for me, but I do see what you're saying.
Because the rest of this movie, I would say, is pretty sophisticated in its writing. But then you just have like this one scene that drags other scenes down, which is really
Yeah,
strange.
that and when the dog's like licking him, I also thought that was a little silly.
Yeah, no, that is straight up just like gross. Um, but that doesn't undercut it because it's not so much after a serious scene as before it. So I don't think it
Oh
really
yeah,
undercuts anything. So I didn't have
that's
as
true.
big of an issue with that.
I do want to talk a little bit more in depth about that scene though, because that's the scene. That's right when the little brother character gets possessed, and I really thought for a second he was gonna die in that scene because of what was happening. To like, I thought that they were gonna be too late in saving him, and that the spirit was gonna kill him.
I had that thought too. I also, especially on the second watch, and like, I was a teenager once upon a time. It's been a while, but I was a teenager. As a teenager, I would have never let somebody that young do something like that, whether I believed it was real or not.
Yeah,
So, and like, I don't have a logic issue with it. More of, you guys are dumb.
yeah, and I mean,
Like, you have a working supernatural connection, and you want to expose a, what is he, 12, 13?
he's pretty young.
You want to expose a kid to that?
Yeah, and when it's weird that everyone else is fine with it. Like, there's only a couple of characters that really have an issue with it, but everyone else is like, yeah, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I was talking about earlier, yeah, it's like, yeah, teens are dumb. But I don't know, everybody's kind of different when they're younger too. I think if I was in that position, I don't think I would be okay with that when
Well,
I was that age.
what really gets me is, right, so the setup for the scene is that the kid wants to do it. His older sister doesn't want him to do it, but everybody else does.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I didn't go to a lot of parties when I was younger. I've never been much of, a social, like, I'm going to go to a party and have a good time. I would think if the older sister says no, the other people would have to listen to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people just don't respect that authority, I guess.
True. I think
But
it makes sense in the long run. It's just like,
yeah,
and then the
it's one of
sister
those.
doesn't do anything to stop the possession. She just lets our protagonist extend it way past the 90 seconds.
Yeah, well, and I think that's just because he thinks that's her mother talking to her,
Well,
and
no, it's the protagonist's mom, but
yeah,
the
that's
protagonist isn't blood related to the other two. She moved in with them like after, or she
yeah,
like
yeah,
stays close. So like
yeah.
the sister that was objecting to this 90 seconds ago now is fine with letting it go over the time limit when they have no idea what could happen.
Wasn't she out of the room when that was happening?
I don't think so.
This I thought the sister left the room when that happened. That's why they went ahead and did it because she just got frustrated and left. I gotta watch it again though. I've only seen it once.
Yeah. I could be wrong. I feel like the second watch was my first watch of the movie.
Oh really?
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of it went over my head the first, but I was also like distracted and it kind of ended up being background noise. So that's why I wanted to make sure I watched it again, and I was glad I did. I got a lot
Yeah.
out of it with the second viewing.
Well,
Um,
another thing I could talk about with that scene is I don't know. I think I find stuff with eyes kind of I don't know. I guess I'm kind of sensitive to that kind of thing. So
oh
when
God, when he goes to like pull out his eye,
yeah, I that got to me when I saw that. I did not like
yeah,
that.
no, yeah, that was fucked. Uh, the when this is a horror film, like when it's truly in like the stuff that makes it a horror film, it is some of the best shot and direct acted stuff that I've seen this year,
It's
which
really
is
effective.
really impressive that this is a YouTuber's first feature film.
Yeah, when it just goes to show you like making short little skits and stuff like that for YouTube can give you a lot of experience because this is very impressive as a first feature.
Yeah, and I think one of A24's better horror movies. I don't love everything they've put out that I've seen, but this is maybe a top 10.
I'd say this is probably going to go down with like it's going to be mentioned in the same way that Hereditary and The Lighthouse are talked about with like the top A24 horror films.
I think you could be right. I think I think it might squeeze into the top 5, but that's a very tight like, oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we already have some heavy hitters in there, but this probably can squeeze in right at the end.
Yeah. This kind of reminded me of a Goosebumps episode, but with a little bit more of an adult edge to it.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like the R.L. Stein would write this plot.
Yeah, he wouldn't go as far though.
No, it wouldn't be like drugs. It'd be like, oh, I can like see my mom or dad again if I hold this thing for 90
Yeah.
seconds or
Yeah, totally. I did see a lot of people comparing this to Hereditary, and I kind of see it, but it's enough of a
I'm
different story, I think.
I don't I mean, I guess just the fact that they're both possession stories.
Yeah,
Um
that's really about it. Like they do different things with the possession concept.
I guess I'm gonna do a wacky take here. Like I gave Hereditary a 5 star, so I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite. I enjoyed this more than Hereditary.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Hereditary is good. Like I will never say it's not good. I don't know if it's just that I've gotten tired of hearing about it or like I'm remembering it wrong, but I really feel like Hereditary for me was a one hit. Like it really got me that first time, but then when you rewatch it and you know what's coming, it's not as like intense.
I
But maybe
don't
I'm
go
wrong.
back. I don't go back to it that often, so I don't really have that. But
It's also too
I can
long.
understand that. It is pretty long, and uh, his movies tend to be pretty long anyway.
Yeah, I
So
know. Midsummer is the most boring movie I've ever seen.
I still have
Uh,
to get around to that. But I will say, I think Hereditary is more disturbing than this movie. I think this
Yeah.
movie's a little bit more entertaining. That movie's a little bit more like psychologically, affecting.
No,
But
for
anyway,
sure. That movie
um,
also has more of an all around cast, whereas like I really felt like the only one doing any really heavy lifting was the main actress. Everyone else just kind of
yeah,
there.
yeah, she's really good. She gives a great performance. Everyone else is, kind of just serviceable.
Them
Um,
Australian accents, mate.
them Australians. Oh yeah, and her friend's mom is Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. I also noticed.
Yes, it drove me nuts the first time I watched it. But you know what's sad is that's not where I recognized her from because I always forget she's in that. But she's
Oh,
also one of the aunts in that new Sabrina Netflix show from a couple of years ago.
oh, okay, yeah.
And that's where I recognized her from.
I immediately went to Lord of the Rings with that.
I always forget that's the same person.
Now all we needed was Carl Urban to be in this movie.
Dude, I want Carl Urban in an A24 horror movie so badly.
That would be awesome.
I want A24 to do like a horror action film. They've done
Yeah,
slashers, they've done The Possession, they've done the cringy like millennials commentary.
yeah.
Do an action horror film and get Carl Urban.
Well, and kind of speaking of going along that line of like A24, going on, they've done so many things. I don't know how you do a sequel to this movie, and they've announced a sequel to this movie. So,
Oh, see, I have the
um,
opposite. This is such a simple premise. You could do this exact movie again, just with a different character having a different problem.
I guess my concern would be like, would it just kind of just be the same movie? Um,
Aren't
I don't
most
know.
sequels?
Yeah, I mean, but the good ones at
Ghostbusters?
least.
You love Ghostbusters too, and that's just the
Okay,
first movie.
hey. Nostalgia plays a lot into that, okay?
Friday the 13th got away with it 8 times.
Friday the 13th is different. I don't know. That's just entertaining. This is a little more than that. I don't know. I'm open to seeing more from this premise. I think I just need to be won over on it.
It's gonna be Ghostbusters 2 all over again, folks.
I mean, hopefully not.
Yeah, exactly, because that movie
That's coming from
sucks.
someone that loves Ghostbusters too. I don't want every sequel to be Ghostbusters too.
So this movie, like a lot of A24 films, is a slow burn. Which is another thing that kind of had it going against for me. Like I don't mind a good slow burn, but I feel like everything is a slow burn now. Like
Yeah,
we gotta do the build up, and then you get to the cool stuff. The cool stuff at the end of this movie was nuts. Where
yeah,
she's like in the hospital and like hallucinating, and like she thinks she's got to kill this guy, and I think she kills her dad.
he does. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
yeah. And I thought the actual ending was genius. I
Yeah, we'll
thought it
get to
was
that in a
great.
second. Because this movie, like every modern horror movie, I don't know if you've noticed this, is about trauma. Because that's all anyone
Like
can make movies about now is trauma.
trauma,
Yeah.
like Jamie Lee Curtis talked about with Halloween.
Well, that's a movie pretending to be about trauma. I mean, 2018 is about trauma, but then after that, it's just
Then
schlock.
after that, it's about making more money.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you. Circling back around to the ending, I think the ending is brilliant. I was actually talking to Austin as the movie was wrapping the first time I watched it, and that's the viewing where it's like I didn't really get it, but I liked it. Like I didn't hate it.
Mhm.
I was like, "What the hell is that ending?" And he explained it to me, and I played it back in my head, and I was like, "Oh." So I'm watching it this
Yeah,
time and picking up on a lot more of the details. When you get to that ending, I was like, "Dude, this
yeah,
is the only way this movie could end."
exactly. Yeah, it's the
I've never
perfect
had that
ending.
with another movie. Like
It's the
I'm always
perfect
like,
ending for this premise.
I'm always like, yeah, that was a good ending, but I could have seen it go this way, this way, or this way. I don't see how else you end this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it had a happier ending. I think it would be super forced.
That it
I
would be
think
an hour and a half YouTube skit,
right, yeah. And these guys have kind of moved beyond that.
except for when they haven't, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
no, and I like how it's silent. Like
yeah,
it's not. It doesn't have to hold your hands. Like, do you get it? No, it's just
yeah.
this is the ending. You get it or you don't. It reminded me. I don't know if you had this, but talking about it, it reminds me of the Donnie Darko ending,
Oh yeah. Um,
where that
I
ending
didn't.
is also super confusing.
I didn't really have that so much. I think the Donnie Darko ending is a little bit more complicated and confusing. But this, you know, this ending, it definitely like hits you like, okay, yeah, this couldn't have ended any other way. It's like the perfect way to end this.
Also, I don't know if we've talked about this or if I've even mentioned on the channel. I'm a sucker for a bad ending in horror movies. That's what really sealed the deal for me with Drag Me to Hell. Um,
Yo, yeah,
I love a bad ending in a horror film, and I love bad endings in any horror in any movie, right? Like I'm one of the few that doesn't think Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars film ever made, but like that
yeah,
ending is killer.
it's
Uh, I
perfect ending.
I
Yeah,
prefer Return of the Jedi, but Empire, the whole ending sequence of Episode 3, love it. Infinity War, I know people like try to discredit Infinity War because it's only part one and like, oh, but they're coming back. I don't care, dude. Watching Peter Parker
yeah.
disintegrate was awful.
It's the execution that matters, and it was well executed.
Yeah, like we need more dark endings in cinema. Let's start a
Yeah.
petition to make dark endings again.
At least with big blockbuster movies, it could be good to have a dark ending once in a while.
Yeah, we don't do that enough anymore. Like I watched Jaws today. That movie's ending is kind of depressing when you think about it. Yeah, he
Yeah, I
killed
mean
this.
it's like bittersweet kind of. It's like optimistic despite the dark nature of it. But yeah,
Yeah, I was so sad when Captain Guy died.
yeah, Quint.
Yeah, he was
Spoilers
great.
for a movie from the 70s, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll talk about that eventually.
We will. We will. We've been discussing that. All right, Torgo. I'm going to ask for any final thoughts before we move into rating and wrap up.
Yeah, final thoughts. I'm so excited to see what these guys do next for their next movie. I think they're already signed on to a bigger project now, but they
I hope
are gonna
they.
do a sequel.
I hope they do the Fast and Furious thing where it's talk the number two me.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me. That'd be awesome. Um, so excited to see what these guys do next. I think they're two new directors to watch, whether they do horror or whatever other genre they want to do. Um, yeah, I was very impressed with this movie, and I think it deserves the hype. I got some issues with it, we talked about that a little bit, but like overall, I think the positives outweigh the negatives, and yeah,
I think, and I don't know what the time scale is here because time, for me, as someone who works and lives at home, I mean, everyone lives at home, but like also works from home, so I like don't leave the house a lot. Time is like
yeah.
non-existent for me. But this is the best A24 film since X, which I don't think you've ever seen.
I still have to watch X and Pearl. Yeah,
I think X at this point is my favorite or second favorite A24 film. Like it's up there. I love X. I wasn't as enamored with Pearl, and then I saw a couple of their other horror offerings like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I thought that was atrocious.
oh yeah,
Um,
that didn't look good.
it wasn't good. I thought this was fantastic. And I think its biggest strength is winning someone like me over. Me, who is sick of this very like genre of horror, the
Yeah.
possession, spooky ghost, but it's like it's not The Conjuring again, where nothing happens for 80 minutes and then the last 10 minutes are insane. It's
Yeah.
we have a story to tell.
You just got to be any other filmmaker besides James Wan to win you over on
James Wan just
Possession.
needs to go back to Saw. Go back to his
Yeah.
roots. I loved *Malignant*. I know everybody gives that movie shit, but I thought it was hysterical. I gotta show that to you one of these days.
Yeah,
That movie is also like kind of slow, and then it gets really funny.
I heard it's pretty funny, so I might give it a watch.
I wonder if it's still on Max. But no,
Probably.
I am thoroughly happy that this movie exists. I predict this will make my top 5 of the year when we do that eventual list. I'm gonna keep my original Letterboxd score. Sometimes, Torgo, I don't know if you have this, but I'll rate something on Letterboxd, and then we'll talk about it. And I'm like, I'm gonna either like up it or lower it. I've done that a lot of the times with stuff we talk about.
I do. Usually when I talk about movies with people, and like especially on the show, like sometimes I've lowered or highered my score based on our talk.
So I gave this a 4-star both times I watched it. And I think I'm gonna stay there. It's a 4 out of 5. Which is insanely high for horror movies this year. Everything has been a 3 to 3.5.
Yeah. I'll second that 4 out of 5. Really good, really solid movie.
Well, you heard it, folks. It's a 4-star. The first horror movie that's a 4-star this year. We'll be back.
It really speaks to how not great this year is for horror.
Yeah. That's Jeff, everybody.
Fellow YouTuber.
We will be back maybe next week, maybe the week after, with another Shutter Shuffle. And then, of course, we got a bunch of stuff planned for October. We want to do some Universal Monster stuff as well as
Oh, hell yeah.
other commentaries. Yeah. We're going to try to do a Five Nights at Freddy's commentary when that movie drops.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm forcing him to do that one.
No, I'm actually kind of like morbidly curious about that.
Yeah, me too. Mostly for Matthew Lillard. But yeah, we will talk at you guys next time, and thank you for watching.